Securities offered through Kestra Investment Services, LLC, Kestra IS, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Kestra Advisory Services, LLC, Kestra AS, an affiliate of Kestra IS. Capital Advisory Group, Inc. is not affiliated with Kestra IS or Kestra AS. Neither Kestra IS nor Kestra AS provide legal or tax advice and are not certified public accounting firms.
You work hard for your money. For the next hour, you're going to learn how to keep what's yours. Capital Advisory Group presents Keep What's Yours. Here is Josh Gilbert and Jeff Zufall.
Hello and welcome to Keep What's Yours with Jeff Zufall. I'm Josh Gilbert, sitting here with Jeff Zufall. He is Senior Tax Strategist and Wealth Advisor with Capital Advisory Group. Hello, Jeff.
Hi, happy Saturday.
And we are going to talk about small businesses, starting your own business, what it's like to own a business. Can you know what, I retired and I'm not done working. Can I start my own business?
You sure can.
What are the tax implications on that? So we'll talk a lot of small business today, but just to let everyone know, Jeff Zufall, Senior Tax Strategist and Wealth Advisor at Capital Advisory Group. He is around to help you as an individual. He's here to help you, me as a married filing jointly. He's around, specializes in small business taxes and making sure, we've talked many times, people come in and they bring their, first quarter financials to you and say, Jeff, I'm not a numbers guy. I opened a flower shop.
Yeah. What's it look like?
I know flowers. Yeah. I don't know numbers. What's this look like?
Exactly. We'll take them from point A to point B, walk them through what their financials look like, if there's anything that we can critique and or adjust as we go forward. So it's all part of it. And again, being a small business owner, you have to know what your numbers are. We see tons and tons of small business people walking around going, well, I think I'm profitable. And the question is, are you really profitable? And it's a matter of time it will catch up to you. So knowing your numbers, using QuickBooks, using some, even if it's Excel spreadsheets, whatever it takes so that you know what your numbers are.
You've got to keep track of it.
Yes.
And, as a small business, people obviously, well, yeah, I know I got to keep track of my numbers, but how tight are you running those numbers?
Tight, not kind of, loosey-goosey out there where you go, well, I think, I made money this week. You either did or you didn't.
You might be 3 years down the road and say, well, so much went out, only so much came in, and I'm broke.
Yeah.
What did I do wrong?
Money and time.
Right.
Which one will you run out first?
Right. And the last thing you want to do is have someone look at your financials in bankruptcy court and say, well, you could have been profitable.
Yeah. You should have done this, this, and this. Yeah. And that's exactly what we walk you through.
So maybe for a small business owner, the first thing you do is call Jeff and say, here's my idea.
Yeah.
Here's my operating expenses. Here's, my cash flow, all that stuff. You can look at that. Here's your title, Jeff Zufall, Senior Tax Strategist, Wealth Advisor, Capital Advisory Group. Where does looking at someone's small business, and I guess, are you an accountant?
Yeah. I mean, from a bookkeeping standpoint and an accounting standpoint, we have bookkeepers in-house in a sense that will do your QuickBooks for you. They'll set up QuickBooks, they'll set up the bank feeds, the credit card feeds, the whole shoot match, be able to compile that data, put it in QuickBooks, and be able to create a profit and loss and a balance sheet for you.
I've worked for some small businesses, and I guess they're not medium-sized businesses.
No,
I don't know what would you classify small, medium? I think the large businesses, the corporations and everything, the Nikes.
A small business would be basically an owner, maybe one employee, maybe just the owner is a true small business. A mid-size would be, 15 employees and above. So, and then large corporations are thousands of employees,
Yeah.
But again, the concept is mid-size and small business. And we see small businesses, they classify themselves as small business, but they have 25 employees, multiple locations. Technically, it's a small business in concept, but it isn't.
Well, I worked at a hardware store growing up. They had 3 locations, and, they had a lot of employees, part-time, full-time, back of the house, front of the house.
Exactly.
So I'm sure they had an accountant on staff.
Probably on staff, in-house somewhere that was doing the calculation, especially for payroll, for hours, all that fun stuff. But again, we see people that come in and it's like, well, I got money in the bank account, so I guess I'm okay. That doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Yeah.
You have to know your numbers. You have to know, budgeting going forward, projecting, different stuff like that. And even a small business, you could use that to your advantage.
And so for the flower shop analogy, you probably don't have a separate office in back for a full-time accountant.
Exactly.
So you're just trying to do everything, running the books and running the front of the house. And we had a pastor that came in one time, and he said, running a church is more than just, writing the homily.
Yep.
And
exactly.
It's most of it actually is keeping the lights on.
Ours used to always reference himself as the CEO of the church.
Yeah.
Because he had to do everything pretty much.
Yeah.
And keep everything in order, plus find a direction for the church to go. So,
right.
Yeah,
Sunday's one day.
Exactly.
What are you doing Monday
All the
through
rest.
Saturday? You gotta keep the lights on. You gotta make the books work. So. We'll talk about small businesses, but I want to remind everybody that Jeff is here to help you. If you are someone like myself, I'll bring up my example again. The first time that we sat down and met, I said, hey, Jeff, I've got a little baby. He's about, 8 months old. Is there anything that we can do? He's going to daycare. He's, he doesn't have a job yet.
Why not?
Yeah, right. So what can we do? And you actually set us up with a FSA, flexible spending
account. Yes.
And it was money that came out of our paycheck, specifically my wife's paycheck. Every 2 weeks that went to an account, and at the end of the year we used that to reimburse ourselves for the out-of-pocket costs for school and all that money that was building up in that account.
Yeah.
Tax-free, non-taxed.
Tax-free. Yes.
Non-taxed. So that would have been, $5,000? That would have been taxed at 24% rate,
Yeah, $1,200.
We got to keep $1,200.
Yeah.
We got to keep it. That was in our pocket right now. And if we bump that up, I have to come and see you. We've been playing tag, phone tag here. We're going to come in and see you. You're going to set us up with an LLC for a separate thing that we got going.
And by rights, you're a small business owner now.
Oh, well, look at that. Well, not yet.
Not yet.
But we're going to set that up with you and find out what kind of tax savings, tax keepings we can keep by becoming an LLC. But we're also going to say, look, we saved $5,000 for my son's schooling last year. Let's try to save 10.
Exactly.
So instead of keeping $1,200, we can keep $2,400. This is money, Jeff, that's going out.
It's real money.
It's money that we have to pay regardless.
Yes.
So why not pay it with some tax-free money?
Exactly.
And this is stuff that's in the
tax law. The rules are out there. They're not really written against us. They're written sort of for us. You just have to know what's out there and know how to follow the rules.
Right. And the point being that the government, they draft this up. The congressional aides probably draft it up.
The aides do.
The congressmen vote on it. The president signs it. It's into law. And then, that's it. Then they close the book.
And it's done. They go on to the next thing.
Right. Yeah. No one's on Capitol Hill floor saying, well, whose job is it to tell the American people about this?
Nobody says a word.
Nobody.
Yeah. So you have to find someone to help you navigate what you can and can't do. And there's stuff out there in tax laws that apply to you, and some of it doesn't apply to me, and vice versa. So again, that's the concept as you go forward, is making sure that it applies to you in the correct manner.
So 70,000 pages of tax code, which is out there. You say it's 7 Bibles worth. And I don't even think Jeff Zufall at Capital Advisory Group needs to read all 70,000 pages.
I wouldn't make it through. There's no way. That's Boersville and a half.
But as a small business specialist, as someone who can help out single people married filing jointly with their kids who have an LLC in Gulf Shores, Alabama. That's
exactly.
You have read the parts of the tax code that pertain to us.
That, and we have software that once we kind of know your concept, your design, what your desires are going forward, we take all that data and plug it in a piece of software, and it's going to come back and kick off a couple of different ideas that most people will never really think about.
How about that?
So it'll actually help you say, hey, you're a small business. Should you be a sole proprietor? Should you be an LLC? Should you be an S Corp? And each one have their own little, I'll say, tricks inside of it. So the question is what you should be. We see people come in that bring in $1 million a year and they're sole proprietors, which means basically they're wide open to anything. And the question is, why are you still sole proprietor? And they're like, well, because nobody ever told me.
Right.
Which is the correct answer.
That's the answer that everybody should be giving.
We either help them get to an LLC, help them get into an S Corp, or a true corporation, depending upon what their situations are.
Like I didn't know what a flex spending account was or what it pertained to before I chatted with you. I didn't know what a health savings account was. Is that something that we want to look into? Are you spending $20,000 on medical bills every year?
Exactly.
You can set up a health spending account that the money that goes into it is tax-free, and you can pay with all this stuff. Otherwise, that money gets taxed and goes to the government. It gets taxed
and goes right out. And then as a small business owner, if you have a small business owner and it's husband and wife setup, you can actually set up what's called a Section 105, and it's a way that you could pre-tax everything that you pay for medical expenses. You use a third-party administrator that sets it up. You get a little card, like a MasterCard, every time you go to the pharmacy, the doctor.
As long as it's medical expenses.
As long as it's medical expenses, co-pays. That's how you take braces. Anything of that structure that's kind of off the beaten path, and you get to take a tax deduction for it.
How about that?
So it's a reimbursement program. It's called Section 105. So we can help you set that up, show you how it actually will help you at the end of the day.
And with such a flashy name like Section 105, you find it hard to believe that nobody's ever heard of this stuff.
Yeah.
So they write it into the tax code, and they close the book on it, and they never tell us about it. So it's almost, anybody who hasn't gone and seen, a tax guy, anyone who hasn't gone and seen a wealth advisor like Jeff Zufall, they're probably walking out there with money just flowing out of their paychecks
exactly.
every 2 weeks going off to the government that they could probably keep.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. So sit down with Jeff. Go have a free consultation. Bring in past 2 years taxes.
2 years tax returns, any financial statements that you have, just to kind of give us paycheck stubs.
And you can kind of eyeball it and just say, here are some of the things that we can look into for you. And you always say math doesn't lie.
Exactly. Math always wins.
Math always wins. So there, you can even say here, we're halfway through the year. Let's sit down and calculate what have you done the past 6 months.
And then what needs to take place.
What's going to happen the next 6 months, and just do the math and say, we can keep a little bit more money going forward if we just make a couple adjustments.
Exactly. And typically it's not – there's no silver bullet out there. There's not one thing that you're going to do and go, oh, I saved tens of thousands of dollars on my tax return. It is a series of little events that add up at $1,000, $500, but you start adding those up and you're to thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars of savings.
So it's just a way to keep more money in your pocket than going off to the federal government because, as we always say, I need that money way more than they do.
Yes, way more.
And we can argue about taxes and what it goes to pay for, roads and bridges. I'm fine with that.
Exactly.
But frankly, $1,200, I could do more with that.
Exactly.
Than the government.
Than what they could.
That's one chair for them.
Exactly.
That's
one toilet seat.
Yeah, toilet seat, the $700 hammer. We've all heard that story. So keep more of your money, okay? We pay our fair share and not a penny more.
Exactly.
So let's take a break, and then we'll get into it. Small businesses, that's going to be kind of our focus on the show today. But if you are an individual or you're filing jointly or you have maybe you paid too much in taxes last year and you're like, why does the government keep coming back to me?
Yeah, exactly.
Asking, well, maybe you're just not having enough withholdings.
We see that a lot. And then what we do is we give, and a lot of people don't understand the estimated tax payments. So if you owe money to the IRS, we'll set you up with estimated payments or adjust your W-4, which is, your paycheck basically. But a lot of people don't understand that, you have to pay those taxes in. Otherwise, they're going to zap you for some penalties at the end of the year.
And it's one of those things where it's like, I owed the government $5,000 last year, and then turn around and they want $5,000 again.
Exactly.
So what am I doing
Nothing
wrong?
Changed.
The idea is that you should be net zero.
Exactly.
But
nobody's ever, especially with stuff going on, flip-flopping back and forth, income going up, income coming down. One of the hidden factors we see that a lot of people don't realize is if you have a portfolio, capital gain distributions at the end of the year sneak up. Nobody really tells you, hey, look out, this is coming. And even in a bad year, typically that's when it really happens, is in a bad year, the mutual fund families themselves are trading and repositioning those portfolios, and they're generating some type of a gain. The mutual fund families will not eat that gain. They're going to pass it through to shareholders proportionately by the number of shares you own. So at the end of the year, you think you have it all wrapped up and you're good to go, and then boom, in December they drop a capital gain on you.
Man.
And it's taxable. Nothing you can do.
Right. So it's not just about what's coming out of my paycheck every 2 weeks.
It's what's going on.
What are my investments sitting like? What are my mutual funds going to come back to me and send me a bill?
Yeah.
So these are all things that you have to think about. And as responsible adults,
yes.
we should have someone on our side kind of taking care of this stuff for us. I was talking to my wife, and we were talking about staining our deck.
Yuck.
And we did it, so at the old house, we did it ourselves. And I had to go over it 5 times because I started first with a roller, and then we switched to a brush, and then we realized that brush wasn't putting it on thick enough. So I had to go over it 5 times. Well, we've upgraded. We've used the market to our advantage. We've upgraded to a bigger house. Now we have a deck that's 3 times the size.
Exactly.
And there's another one on the second story.
Yes.
So that's a lot of deck. And she literally said, at this point, it's not worth it to me to try and do on my own and save a little bit of money. I'm going to pay somebody if we want to stain our deck. And we talk about it all the time. Why do you want to sit in your office every March and try to figure out your taxes and spend your Saturdays or your downtimes or your nights or whatever trying to figure out your taxes? Number one, you're probably not going to do them correctly. Number 2, you're not going to find the things that Jeff can find in them because we're not tax professionals.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's like, why wouldn't we just get somebody to look at our stuff for us
and help guide you down that path?
You know what I did this tax season? I gave you our tax information, and then I went on my deck that is unstained, and I had a glass of lemonade.
That's right. That's what you do.
I let you take care of it.
That's right.
Number 1, I don't know. Math scares me. So I don't know what I'm doing. And number 2, I wouldn't be able to find, the flex spending accounts that are out there. It's like, maybe my wife sits down with her HR department and says, what's out there for me? And then they say something and it flies right over her
Exactly.
head.
And
we can get you, if we get you on board, if we come and see you and I say, Jeff, I trust you, I want to hire you, you can get on the phone with our HR company.
Exactly. See what's out there. See if it applies to you. If you could use it to your advantage. If you can't, don't worry about it.
Because when the HR company talks to us, we're just like,
probably seems like a foreign language.
Right, they're turning on the fire hose.
Yeah.
I don't know, but if Jeff's there as well, you can interpret Section 105 for us.
Yeah, and say, that'll work, or
yes,
no, that doesn't apply. Yeah.
Jeff, does that pertain to me? And you say no. And you say, well, what about that? And you say yes.
Yeah.
That's a way for you to keep another $1,200 maybe.
Exactly.
So here's the number, 636-394-5524, Capital Advisory Group. Jeff Zufall, Senior Tax Strategist and Wealth Advisor. Keep what's yours. It's the name of the book that Jeff wrote. It's the name of the show that we do on the weekends here, and it's the idea that maybe I can keep a little bit more money on my paycheck, a little bit more money in my pocket, rather than going off to the federal government, because they'll just blow it on a $700 hammer.
Yep.
Exactly. And if I wanted a $700 hammer, I want to buy it with
fancy.
I want to buy it with my money.
Be bedazzled.
Yeah. Gold tipped. All right. Let's go to commercial break. And when we come back, talking small business here. Keep what's yours with Jeff Zufall, 636-394-5524.
Keep What's Yours continues with Josh Gilbert and Jeff Zufall.
Back at the Big 550, back on Keep What's Yours with Jeff Zufall. I'm Josh Gilbert, Capital Advisory Group. Jeff Zufall, Senior Tax Strategist and Wealth Advisor. Here's the number again, 636-394-5524. If you're single, if you're married filing jointly, if you're a small business, if you're a medium-sized business, if you have my sister, she has questions about her wife is a school teacher, and they have a bunch of separate rules when it comes to the retirement and stuff. And it's like, I figured out my rules, but now, my spouse is a teacher. They've got a whole nother set of rules. Pensions and buying back years and stuff. What can you do?
They get an extra. It was a $250, what they call an educator credit. In the past, it's now $300 because of inflation.
I mean, do they send a letter out that says that? No, they don't.
Just every educator, as long as you're a true teacher, even substitute, as long as you have the hours, you get a $300 educator credit straight out of the box.
And that's to pay for decorations?
Decorations in your room. They know that a teacher spends probably
Kleenex.
10 times that for their room.
Oh, yeah.
And again, if you bought a lot of COVID stuff, you set your classroom up maybe and with mask and plexiglass and junk like that, and you bought all that out of your pocket, and it's more than $300, take that to your administrator and get a letter, and the administrator of the school will give you a letter as to what you spent, and you'll get to take a deduction for it.
How about that? So it really depends on your profession.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sometimes that there are certain credits out there for you.
Yes.
So let's get into the small business stuff because we want to talk about that today. But first and foremost, if you are a small business and you kept employees throughout the pandemic, we want to hear from you. MyERCtoday.com. That's a website. MyERCtoday.com. ERC stands for Employee Retention Credit.
Yes.
If you are a business owner and you kept employees on throughout the pandemic and didn't push them off to the government's unemployment rolls, they want to give you a credit.
Yes.
The government does.
The government does. And now this isn't a loan. It's not the PPP program. It's not the EDIL, which was the emergency disaster loan. It's none of those. This is an actual program directly with the feds. They will go back, do a calculation, and then depending upon where you're at from the people that you kept on board, you'll either get a check or a credit coming forward. And it is limited, so it is, I'll say, a cap in a sense on the dollars. I don't know what. It's like a $4 billion, portfolio that's sitting out there. And once that money's gone, it's gone.
Yeah. So there's a bucket.
Yeah.
You got to get in and get your hand in. And I don't know what the math is, Jeff. You'll have to look at it for us. But, if we kept 5 employees, could we get a set amount of money?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's basically it could run as high as $10,000 an employee.
Okay.
So there's companies on
that's real money.
Oh, it's real money. There's companies that we're seeing that, granted they may do a lot of revenue, that are in the $350,000 range. That's a credit that's coming forward.
Yeah. So look, you're a small business. You're a business. You did the right thing. You kept employees on the payroll during an international disaster.
Exactly.
And the bonus that they were given for unemployment during the pandemic.
Exactly.
It was double the rate. So for as a thank you for keeping people
keeping on payroll, not dumping them and running away.
Dumping them on unemployment, here's a bonus to you. So myerctoday.com. Go out there. And the information that they ask you, any business owner is going to have that, right? I mean, they're going to ask you to plug in certain numbers and certain,
Yeah, they'll ask for your 2020, basically, what's called and if you're a small business, you get this 941s. One's a quarterly wage report. The other one's an annual wage report. And it'll be from, I believe it starts March of 2020, goes through December of 2020. And then fires back up in January of 21 and goes to, I believe, President Biden stopped it in September of 21. Even though we're still technically under a disaster, I don't know what you want to call it, a disaster zone for COVID, They have not lifted that just yet. But again, you get that good almost year.
For almost a year and a half between March of 20 and September of 21, for about a year and a half, if you kept your employees on payroll and kept, cranking the widgets out.
Exactly.
You can jump onto myerctoday.com, put your numbers in, and see what the government might have for you.
Yeah, what's sitting out there. They'll do the calculation.
Maybe possibly up to $10,000 an employee.
Yeah, exactly.
How about that? All right. So that's what you need to do if you're a business owner. What if I'm not a business owner, but I always thought that someday I might like to be?
Yeah.
So you have a list over there, 10 reasons to start your own business.
Exactly. So anybody who's sitting out there who maybe has been working for somebody for years, maybe you have your little idea sitting to the side and you're going to venture off in a matter of time.
Oh, that boss has angered me one last time.
One last time. Or you could do better than what the boss can.
Right.
I get all that. So the concept is here's 10 reasons to start your own business. So the first one, which I laugh at, is each day at the office will be motivating because you're it.
I mean, I agree with that.
Which that's why I laugh. I say if I ever actually had to really go work for somebody, I don't know if I could do it or not.
Right.
Honestly, because I've been self-employed since
so long.
24. So it's me, and I know every day that I'm not dependent upon anybody. It's me to make sure that whatever needs to get done gets done. It's my problem.
And look, if you ask me to come over to your house, Jeff, and mow the lawn and trim the hedges, I'm going to half-ass it, okay?
Exactly.
That's the honest truth. But if it's my house, I'm going to be out there for hours.
Exactly.
Because it's mine.
You'll make sure that it's perfect.
Yeah.
You'll cut the grass twice if you have to.
Absolutely.
But that's what it is each day at the office is motivating because it really is.
Rather than going into work, punching a time clock and all that stuff, you might want to work for yourself and have kind of that drive, that fire that maybe you haven't
even
had.
if you started like on a part-time basis just to see if you kind of test the waters, if you like it, that's great.
If the business idea is good enough and you want to just kind of kick it off now and see
what you could get going.
Yeah. We mentioned in the last segment, a lot of times people want to start their own business, but they know a niche. They know flowers.
Exactly.
Or I know...
They just don't know all the other junk that comes along with it.
I just don't know payroll.
Yeah.
And I don't know accounting. And I don't know math and numbers.
Yeah.
That's where you might want to kick off your business and then say, hey, Jeff, I just started this business. I need somebody to look at my numbers.
Exactly.
And make sure that I'm getting this thing off the ground the proper way.
Exactly. So that you don't start and then go, ooh, I've been running this way for a year. I shouldn't have done any of that. And guess what? I owe a bunch of stuff because I didn't do it right.
The last thing I want to come in to see you at the end of the year is for you to say, well, you could have
saved a ton of money if you'd have done
saved
this
$40,000 if you didn't do this, or you could have earned $50,000 if you didn't do that.
If you didn't do it, so
I want to come in every year and hear you say things like that, but I want to make sure that it's not
the other way.
Right. I want you to say, hey, you're running pretty good, but we can tweak this.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
the other one, which kind of ties back into that, is follow your passions, whatever it might be. Nonprofit, if you want to do charitable stuff, if you can build a better widget, do it.
If you want to work with flowers every day rather than be in a cubicle.
Exactly. I read a report. I think it was I forget who it was on like Instagram or something like that said that the best time to start a business is in a recession. Well, guess what? I mean, probably when the data comes out, we're in a recession. We just don't know it yet.
We don't know it yet.
But we're probably there.
What did you say? We don't know you're in a recession until you're
in a recession.
Yeah.
It's a stupid scenario, but...
Perk up your ears, and with the great resignation that's been going on across the country, a lot of people are finding now's a good time to
do it.
To quit the rat race and start that business.
And start it, exactly. So, and again, then the next is you can pursue social justice or support, nonprofits, just like what I was saying, down that passion side. That's something to look at. And the end game is achieve financial independence. The joke is the boss bought a new Ferrari and the employee's like, oh, that's great. And the boss says, hey, if you go to work and be here on time and work hard, next year I'll buy another one. That's the theory.
Next year I'll buy another one.
Exactly.
Because you're working for me.
Exactly. So that's the setup is most people will start their own business for the independence, the financial independence side. Now, there's bad times, don't get me wrong. We can help coach you through it and kind of guide you in the right directions if needed. But big picture, that's the whole reason you're there.
And let's be honest, you wanna work in your passion because you want a reason to get up every morning.
Yeah.
You wanna have joy in your work. What do they say? If you love what you do, you'd never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
But the true answer is your mortgage
it's still there.
comes every month.
It's not going to go away.
The lights need to stay on. That Lamborghini is not going to fill itself
That's
up
right.
with gas.
At premium at $12 a gallon.
So you do need to make some money at this.
And so again, going back down the other side of that is you can control your lifestyle and your schedule. That's one thing that I've been in business 30 some odd years. My schedule is all over the place. Just crazy. And we've tried to get it back to where I can actually, I say, claim a day, if you want to call it that. So I know what I'm doing. But there's always a fire that's going to show up. There's always something, oopsie, we got to get this. You got to zig and zag to take care of what you got to take care of.
I call you and I say, hey, Jeff, can we do Thursday at 7? I don't, during the week with the Heidi show and everything, I don't get off of work until 6 even.
Mm-hmm.
So, you say, 7 o'clock is, that's outside of banker's hours, but you make it work. And so, what, maybe the next day you go into work late.
Exactly.
And you can do that because you can make your own schedule.
Because you're running the show. So that's the other beauty of it.
Time. Yeah. They say time is money. But
it is.
Time's a lot more valuable.
You have, what are the two, either run out of time or money first. Which one?
Yeah, that's a neck-and-neck race.
Yeah. So, and again, you're going to start from scratch typically. Now granted, you could go buy a business, but usually there's a capital outlay. You're purchasing someone else's stuff. That's my polite word for the radio. Mm-hmm. So again, that's typically most of the ones we see are started from scratch. Our family, their second, third, fourth generation that are stepping in, taking over. The coolest part is tax benefits. So when you're self-employed,
this is where Jeff comes in.
There's stuff that you pay when you're an employee. You pay with after-tax dollars for stuff, and when you are, I'll say, a self-employed individual or running your own show, you're paying with certain items with pre-tax dollars. So that's the beauty of it.
And that stuff adds up.
It adds up to huge numbers, and I mean huge numbers over a course of a year. So again, not that you're writing everything off through your business and you're buying cars through your business and crazy stuff like that. But there's business trips that you get to go see the different parts of the country. But you're going to a convention or you're going to a business meeting where you're going to go conduct business. It's deductible.
Do people come into you from time to time, start off with you, say, oh, I didn't know I could do that, or I didn't know I could do this, and then years down the road after working with you, they get it. They kind of get the laws, and they
know
get
the kind of
tax code, the ins and outs.
The gray areas where to stop, and then bring that in and go, hey, can I finish this, or am I where I should be? And sometimes you're like, no, you went over the line.
You're still there. We always talk about the guardrails.
Yeah.
You're still the guardrails.
Yes.
You can weave in and out between the lanes.
Exactly. You jump over the guardrails, go into the weeds, you get bit by a snake.
Yeah, and that snake is the IRS.
Yeah, they'll come along and say, nope, can't do that.
Right.
So,
but you can start at the wiggle room, but knowing that Jeff is always there to look over the paperwork, to look over the spreadsheets, and say we can go up to this point,
and then that's where
anything else is illegal.
Yeah, illegal and our gray area where you
don't want to live.
You could get pulled in for that. So
right,
yeah.
Right, and why would I? If I had a Lamborghini and I can afford gas for it, why would I want to live in the gray area?
Exactly.
I wouldn't want the government coming and taking that away from me.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, there's tax benefits to running your own business and,
huge.
And having somebody like Jeff Zufall, senior tax strategist and wealth advisor with Capital Advisory Group, running the show for you. You can, realize that, look, I'm a lot more profitable than I thought I was because I'm taking advantage of tax code that's already on the books.
Yeah, it's there. Use it to your advantage as you go forward. So
I wonder how many small businesses are operating right now that are listening to us that have said, well, I've done it myself for 3 or 4 years, and I'm eking by.
Yeah.
What more can I be doing? Where can I find some savings?
A lot of them, because most people, if you're an individual, you're going to be somewhat limited to what you can do from adjusting taxes. It's typically will fall into, hey, do an IRA, increase your 401k, do an HSA, have more kids, buy a bigger house, stuff like that. But from a business owner, there's a slew of different stuff that can be done on an annual basis. It saves you literally tens of thousands of dollars. And
again,
they just don't know that they exist.
It's the tax code is tiny, maybe just a couple pages for me as an individual
Exactly.
or married filing jointly. Once you start talking small to medium-sized business, that tax code probably opens up thousands of pages.
I'd probably hundreds. And then if you're a large business, like a huge business, then tens of thousands of
thousands.
pages.
That's the
the Walmarts
the way
of the world.
that GE doesn't pay taxes
Exactly.
for some reason.
Exactly. They've got it.
They're utilizing tens of thousands, and they have floors and floors of
attorneys and accountants that will
Right.
go hack away at anything. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But we're just a little guy or
Yeah.
a little gal out here trying to squeak by a living doing what we love.
Yeah.
There are tax benefits out there for us
yeah, bunches.
if we
So,
start a small business.
Yeah. So one of the other ones is true job security. And you say job security because it's you.
Okay.
You'll be gainfully employed every day.
Right.
You may
I'm not
not
gonna
make
get
money.
fired, right.
Yeah, you won't get fired.
Well, the race between time and money, of course, that's always going to be there. But
Exactly.
Nobody's going to come in and fire me.
Yeah, true job security. You don't have to worry about it. But at the end of the day, it's you to basically perform and do what you need to do to make money. So do it in the most tax-efficient manner that you can going forward. And you'll be an expert in a broad range of skills, whether it's payroll, whether it might be QuickBooks, dealing with customers, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So it kind of broaden your horizons a bunch.
Yeah,
So-
back to the church analogy. Yeah, you are an expert in the Bible,
Exactly.
but you also have to be an expert in
And payroll and, HR in a sense,
Yeah.
Running the show basically. So there's a lot of other stuff that'll come along that you'll learn, sometimes the hard way, from personal experience, and sometimes it'll come natural to you. So
yeah. And speaking of carpentry, somebody's got to keep those pews.
that's right.
Up and running, sanded
Up and
down.
running, and yeah. So, and then the last thing is you can be creative. As long as it's not illegal, you can do whatever you need to do as you go forward.
And again, Jeff is the guardrail on the street of tax legality. And what can we wiggle through here? The idea is kind of like I'm not necessarily going to drive on the right side of the road. I'm going to kind of change lanes,
Zigzag a little bit, yeah.
zigzag. How can I do this?
Yeah.
While still maintaining legality and not having the IRS come in, but keeping a bunch of money in my bank account.
Yeah.
So, starting your own business, 10 reasons. It is very important to think about before you get involved with all of this stuff that you have to say, well, who's going to do my books? And
Exactly. When you first get going, we see people that, and to some degrees, either don't worry about anything, just start it up and go.
That's fun and crazy.
It's fun and crazy, but it does cause some confusion to get it all back together. And then we see other people who do the exact extreme opposite, and they have everything in detail. They have tax ID numbers and LLCs and all this stuff put together, but they didn't know exactly what they were doing. So it may be heading in the wrong direction, and it's just a matter of reeling them back in and getting them going the right pattern in a sense.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. Personally speaking, I could start the flower shop and make sure. I feel like I got a green thumb. Like I said, I'm not going to really put my heart and soul into your yard, but my yard's looking great these days. I'd start the flower shop, but I am not good at organization.
Yeah,
I'm just
and
not.
that's part of it. We preach that every week. What's tax planning? It's proper organization, making sure you have your documents, making sure that you know where they're at.
Yeah.
That's one of the big things. A lot of people are like, hey, I know I got it somewhere around here, but they can't put their hands on it.
So let's talk about this. Let me ask you this. If you're retired, and, a lot of people in retirement have now I finally have the time
exactly
to start my own business.
Or they retired. You can only play so much golf, even though the bunch of guys I know, they play 7 days a week, but that's a whole other thing.
I mean, I could sit on the couch
exactly
24/7. I'd be fine with that.
Watch TV, kick back, read a book,
sure.
So on and so forth. But a lot of people will find that boring as could be, but they retired, maybe a year into it, they're like, oh, but what if you actually could find a hobby in retirement that you could make into a business? Again, you got to be careful of the hobby rule, which is another tax rule for the IRS, which basically means that you have to have a profit motive for starters, which means you've got to try and make money, not just go out and do stuff. And it has to be a bona fide business. Can't be a hobby, to where you're like, hey, I'm going to raise horses and take write-offs every year. They will frown upon that greatly.
And there's probably separate thresholds for qualifying as a hobby versus as a business. And you'll go through that with people.
Exactly, walk them through. But starting a business in retirement, that's one of the big things. So you retire, you quit your career, you could keep doing it as a consultant, but then you're going to create your own little business, or you could go a totally different direction. And then some of the stuff that you want to look for is, and I say this, you're going to get a greater investment return as you go forward. Just because now you've got your investments, you're not burning your money in a sense, and I say burning from a standpoint of using it to live off in retirement, you have a second job going.
Supplemental
income coming in the door. But again, one of the things that you don't want to do, and I say this, as what you don't want to, is don't use your retirement savings to start your business. Because what if it fails? And you just burnt a ton of your money and your time. You just burnt it starting this business, and it goes poof, and it doesn't exist. So try not to use your retirement savings at all cost. And don't take a loan out against your 401k either. A lot of people are like, hey, I can do that and, use that to get going. Because if you ever separate of service, so when you retire, you will separate service, that loan is now has to be paid back.
Yeah.
And so, again, you've got a loan sitting out there that you use to start your business, and then you get ready to retire, but now you get a loan that's going to either be a taxable event to you or you pay it back, one or the other.
Yeah. Well, that's, that's kind of scary. I mean, that's really taking a leap of faith.
There's a lot of people we see that do that they put up the cash, from their IRA. You had to pay the tax on it and so on and so forth. They get the wheels in motion. A lot of people use their IRA dollars to actually purchase a business. Questionable. I'd have to see the numbers first to say, hey, I'll go with it. But a lot of them, I'll say 8 out of 10 times, no, don't do it.
Is this going to, again, you specialize in small business and medium-sized business. You can help people with their financials. You can make sure that they're running in the black instead of in the red.
Exactly.
But you can do dollars to dollars. Does this make sense to touch your IRA to start this new business venture in retirement?
Exactly. And there's some, where you go, okay, it's justifiable because of what's going to go down, and there's others where it just blatantly is, like I said, math always wins, where it just blatantly does not work.
Sure. So. And, as far as the wealth advising, the tax strategy goes, you are there to help people with this stuff. And if you're going to start a small business in retirement, Jeff should be the first phone call that you make.
Yes.
So we can look and see what you've got in your nest egg.
Exactly.
Try not to touch it as best we can.
As best you can.
What happened? Well, what about this? In retirement, we're getting Social Security, we're getting a pension. But what if we get a new job? We retire, but we get a job. What are the tax implications of that? And if we start our own business, does that count as income?
Well, business is income. I mean, if you have an income, if you're profitable.
Right.
But again, from the Social Security Administration, if you are over your full retirement age, it's not an issue. Okay.
Hang on. Over your full retirement, what is it?
So typically it could be, depending upon what year you were born, 66, 65. Typically we are 67. That's our full retirement age. So what that says is if we are retired and we're over that full retirement age, the IRS cannot take anything, or the Social Security Administration cannot take anything away from us. They can tax us on our Social Security, but they cannot take it away. So if you are under your full retirement age, and you got to go, depending upon how old you are, you got to find that number, but we'll say that it's 66 in 6 months. If I am 66 and I take Social Security and I also have a full-time job or I have a small business and I make more than $18,800 is the easiest calc, for every $2 over 18.8, I pay back $1 in Social Security.
Wow.
They'll come and take it away.
Well, okay, so let's break this down. It kind of makes sense. I hate to say that somebody should get their Social Security taken away, but it kind of makes sense. I retire at 60 and start a whole new career.
Exactly.
I shouldn't be able to pull from a retirement Social Security fund.
You're going to take if you took.
If I'm making money.
Yeah, if you took Social Security at 62, it's going to be a way reduced amount, but still you're getting that benefit paid to you. And then you fire up. What we see is a lot of people will actually go into retirement. They retire. They'll start their Social Security with no intention of ever starting a business or going back to work. And then they get this offer that they cannot pass up. So if you're over your full retirement age, you're fine. They're going to tax you either at 85 or 50% of that Social Security as taxable income to you, but they can't take it away. But if you're under that threshold,
they can take it.
They can take
it back.
Yeah,
because you're double dipping at that point.
For every $2 over, they take $1 back. Now, here's where the real mix-up.
Can you call the Social Security office and say, "Hey, I'm going to go back to work. Can you pause my payments?"
You technically used to. Can't really do that anymore.
Okay.
But there is, if you sold a business, that's a windfall. So that is a exemption in a sense where they don't get you for that Social Security. But typically what will take place is it'll take, so whatever you earn, so in the year of 2022, let's say that takes place and you make $30,000 working, running your business, and you got your Social Security, you're over the 18.8 mark. So they're not going to do that calculation until you file this year's tax return. It's on record, which doesn't happen until spring of next year. So it's mid-2023 or late 23 before they even figure out that you owe money.
Yeah.
And it's a year later.
So that's interesting. There's a lot to talk about there, a lot to think about as well. And when it comes to pensions are pensions.
Exactly. So that is pension income. IRA pension income doesn't count. It's only earned income, which is a W-2 from an employer, or self-employment income, which is running your own business.
So starting your own business, there's a lot of reasons why to do it. We went through 10 of them, creating your own schedule, being your own boss. These are all the things that we think about. And having a reason to get up in the morning,
Exactly.
Again, you play golf and then you come home. It's only 11 a.m. and you still got the rest of the day. What am I going to do with my life?
That's right. Start a business.
I will be okay. I was built for retirement, Jeff.
Yeah.
I work 6 days a week as it is. I'm ready.
That's right.
You tell me when I can. You've seen my finance. Jeff always says, Josh, you probably won't retire till you're 70.
70.
Yeah, you got a long way to go. But I was built for it. But some people aren't. Some people are like, I got to do something.
Some people go. They have to do something. They cannot just play golf. They get bored.
It keeps people young.
Exactly.
I hate to say it, but some of these football coaches, they retire and then they
come back 5 years later and second career, and
they keep going. They're backing in, but then they ultimately retire, and sometimes people just don't really have anything to do, and they kind of just their health declines and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about starting a business, number one, go ahead, but talk to Jeff first.
Exactly. Consult with somebody to kind of lay out the base steps to make sure that, A, it's feasible, two, that you're going down the right path.
Yeah. And number two, if you want to start a business in retirement, go see Jeff.
Yes.
Because you guys need to have a conversation about where you stand in Social Security and make sure that the stuff that is going to you, your Social Security, you've earned that.
Exactly.
Make sure that you get the full benefits of it.
Full pop for it, yeah.
All right. Let's give out the number again, 636-394-5524, Capital Advisory Group, Jeff Zufall, Senior Tax Strategist and Wealth Advisor. The book is Keep What's Yours. The show on the weekends that we're doing right now is called Keep What's Yours. And the idea is, how do I keep more money in my pocket on my paycheck?
Yes.
Rather than going out to the federal government.
Exactly.
And there's many ways.
A vast array of different options, credits.
So many. And if you're not doing anything right now and you keep getting tax bills at the end of the year for $5,000, let me give you the number again.
Exactly.
636-394-5524. We did one thing in FSA. That's the only thing that we utilized last year. We kept $1,200. We're going to try to double that this year, get the full benefit from it, keep $2,400.
Exactly.
And Jeff, once we nail down the time to come in and see you, we're going to figure out what more can we be doing.
Exactly. All the other options.
That's the idea. Have a guy in your corner or a gal.
Yes.
And Jeff Zufall, give him first crack at it. Senior tax strategist and wealth advisor with Capital Advisory Group. 636-394-5524. Jeff, good chatting with you again.
Same here.
We'll see you next week.
Next week.
You've been listening to Keep What's Yours with Josh Gilbert and Jeff Zufall, Senior Tax Strategist and Wealth Manager at Capital Advisory Group. To learn more, call 636-394-5524 or visit CapitalAdvisoryGRP.com.